There, I'm Rex King, and welcome back to another episode of From the Archive, and happy holidays! It's been a while since I've posted a video. I had to delay this one, mainly due to the fact that I had trouble finding the right time to film it and the right time to edit it. But, without further ado, let's talk about Love the Coopers. So Love the Coopers was directed by Jesse Nelson and written by Steven Rogers. The film was initially going to be produced by Relativity Media and was initially going to become called The Most Wonderful Time. And unfortunately, Relativity Media ended up going bankrupt before the film could be finished. CBS ended up picking up the movie, and the film was released back in November 13th, 2015. It was made on a budget of $17 million and made $42.4 million at the box office, making the film a relative success. That being said, critics were less than pleased with this one. They actually eviscerated it pretty hard, and Amanda Seyfried was even nominated for Worst Supporting Actress at the Razzies that year. But is this film just a misunderstood holiday classic, or is it truly the piece of garbage that everyone else makes it out to be? Well, if you saw the end of my Noel video, you already know where I stand on that, but let's just talk about the story. So, the story of Love the Coopers follows the Cooper family. They are a group of a dysfunctional family, and it follows basically 6 stories as they come together on Christmas Eve, and chaos ensues. So, like I said, there are 6 stories here, and I really don't think I can talk about all of them. So I'm just going to focus on 2 or 3 of the big ones. Those ones being the heads of the family, played by John Goodman and Diane Keaton, who are basically on their last legs of their marriage. They're about to be separated after 40 years, and they basically just want to have one good family Christmas before they separate. Then you have their daughter, played by Olivia Wilde, who's in an airport bar, just doesn't want to go home because she feels like she's a disappointment to her family, ends up meeting this soldier guy, ends up basically convincing him to pretend to be her boyfriend for the night, and that's basically that story. And then we also have Alan Arkin, who is basically the oldest member of the family. He's the father of Diane Keaton's character. He's starting to basically have this weird relationship with this waitress played by Amanda Seyfried, and even he realizes how weird the age difference is between them. So yeah, these are 3 of the big stories that this film is trying to do, and on the surface, they don't sound too bad, honestly. These 3 stories are the crux of the film. You have the daughter who just doesn't want to be with her family because she feels like she's a disappointment. You have the grandfather / older member of the family who it really is starting to feel something towards this younger woman, even though he knows that's just absolutely absurd. But they find a kinship together, which kind of mirrors what's going on with the heads of the family as they are starting to drift apart for various reasons. These 3 stories, if it was just these 3 stories, I honestly think this film would have been fine. These stories aren't great, but they're interesting enough to hold my attention. There wasn't a need to add 3 more, but we have 3 more, and they just don't feel right. They just feel underdeveloped and underwhelming in comparison to the stories we get at the center of the film. Again, I really don't think this movie is awful when it comes to its story, because there is a lot of potential here. I liked a lot of the humor that this film was going for, and I honestly laughed several times in the movie, but it is a little overplayed at times, and the story is pretty predictable overall. This isn't helped by the fact that there's a narrator telling us pretty much how we have to feel at every given moment instead of letting the audience think for themselves. I mean, seriously, this movie could have had no narrator and it would have been perfectly fine. Instead, we have this narrator who turns out to, spoiler alert, be the dog Rags, voiced by Steve Martin, and it just feels out of place and feels like they didn't trust the audience to understand what was going on. Then you have the characters, and I swear to God, I am tired of the films just overstacking their story with mundane, one-note characters that have one personality trait and that defines them. That is completely unnecessary. And this isn't helped by the fact that the film doesn't have enough time to give all the characters in this movie enough of a backstory for us to care about them. I mean, seriously, this isn't helped by the fact that the narrator tells us most about them instead of letting us figure out about who these people are on our own. I mean, seriously, just write the story better and you wouldn't need the narrator, and we would understand the characters a whole lot more. The performances honestly aren't bad. I'm not really sure why Amanda Seyfried was nominated for Worst Supporting Actress. She has one kind of cringe moment, but that's it. The rest of the performances are really good. I especially loved Olivia Wilde as the daughter, who kind of just feels like she's a disappointment and has this kind of snarky atmosphere about her. I really felt like she was really good in that role, and honestly, anytime the film was focusing on her, I really enjoyed what the movie was doing. Everyone else just does a fine job, but they're also not given a whole lot to work with, and this is, again, probably due to the fact that this film is just stacked with actors and characters that the film didn't need. Then you have the visuals, and here's my main issue with the movie. The visuals here are weird. Like, there's a lot of weird close-ups, and the film just continuously cuts to different angles when it's just two people talking, and that's just not necessary. A wide shot of the two characters talking would have probably been more interesting instead of you just cutting to each different angle of their faces and closing in to give us facial expressions. I mean, it just doesn't work here, and it feels like the editor really didn't know what they were doing. It really just goes to prove my point that this film might have had something if they just stuck with a simpler story, a simpler way of doing things, and it honestly could have made this film so much better. The music isn't bad. There is a score done by Nick Arata. It's not really noticeable because there's a lot of Christmas songs in here and a lot of songs just being played in general. But to be fair, that's kind of to be expected from a lot of Christmas specials nowadays and a lot of Christmas movies, that you're just going to have a lot of Christmas songs scattered throughout. And to be honest, they're used kind of fine here, and I didn't hate them here, so it's not bad. At the end of the day, Love the Coopers had a lot of potential. It's just too bad that the filmmakers felt they needed to make it overcomplicated, when if they had just simplified it to 3 stories instead of 6, narrowed down the amount of characters we had, and also narrowed down the editing and made it a lot more simpler, this film probably would have been a whole lot better than it actually turned out being. As it stands, the movie is just so lackluster, so overstacked with stories and characters, that it loses a lot of the heart it was going for. So is this film a buy, stream, or avoid altogether? Well, it's not good enough on its own to be a buy, but the special features on this Blu-ray are the making of, a featurette about the dog, and some bloopers as well, and a music video. And they aren't bad special features. If you really like the movie, it's not completely unworth it. You might be interested in the Blu-ray like this. But if you're trying to make a decision whether or not you should buy this movie without seeing it, I'm going to tell you no. And honestly, you shouldn't even stream it. This movie is just a mess. It really is a mess. And this could have been so much more, and I see the potential here. As it stands, it's just not good. So I'm going to say Love the Coopers is an avoid altogether. There are plenty of other Christmas specials that will get you in the mood a lot more than this one. Anyway, that's my holiday season for the year. I only did 2 videos. I apologize for that, but I just did not find the time to manage to do 3 this year. So I unfortunately only have 2 videos for the holiday season. That being said, when we return from the archive, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be looking at Legends of Dinosaurs and Monster Birds. See you then.